Hi, all you heroes, villains, and innocent bystanders. Welcome to another episode of An Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews, where we'll be spoiling the books for the week and giving our general unsolicited opinion about them, which I feel like is a pretty good opinion, if I do say so for myself. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and today I have with me a special, hopefully a semi-regular, if not regular person to be on the show at some point. This is...
I'm James. I'm be going by JD.
JD, which is a really great handle. I love it. So he's going to be helping me out today. And then as always, we have our angel, Jenny. She'll be with us and helping us through the show, I'm sure. I'm just hoping she doesn't follow me if I give a bad review. So sit back. If you haven't read your books for the week, make sure you do that first because we will be spoiling them. And then we will see if you get a chance to comment after the show. All right, James. So, do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
You let me go first, show you how it's done? All right. So, I'm going to start with Star Wars number 57. It is a middle of the series, or second book in the series. Have you got a chance to read this one yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So, do you read Star Wars, James?
Yes.
Okay. So, with the Star Wars books, what have you liked it or not?
I've liked it so far. I like the expanded world. They cut back the canon from all of the books and comics that had gone before and said all that is kind of extra, and this is filling in the blanks now.
Giving you a little bit more added stuff. So the writer is Kieran Gillen. I'm saying it right? James is going to be my resident pronunciation coach. And then the artist is Angel Unzeta.
Sure, why not?
Unzeta. Sounds close enough. So in this particular issue, it is kind of the second book in the arc. With it, they had the last book, they were trying to be smuggled off-world and by Han Solo's wife or ex-wife. And Sana. And so she, in order to get past the blockade, she's like, I'm going to drop you guys off of this planet. And it's like an abandoned world. You guys will just have to survive until I can get past the blockade and come back and get you again. So when they got their last issue, they got kind of like almost like a Mandalorian armor. These guys kind of take them and kidnap them and say, we're going to go to the resort. And they make it sound like really ominous. Well, in this particular book, they get to the resort and it's like this beautiful, like, lush garden.
It's an actual resort.
It's like this huge resort. That's
I thought that was a euphemism.
Yeah, you're like, I thought we was going to die, but I guess we're not. So that was kind of funny. They show up, and of course, Han makes the robot make him a spice drink, and the robot's like, "Wow, what is all with all these poisons? Why'd you want me to bring it?" And he's like, "It's really good." So they have like this. The leader comes out and starts showing them around and explaining what's going on, and of course they're super skeptical of everything, which they should be. But they end up being like a hunter community that he had bought this moon, and he's kind of turned into this, not utopia, but kind of this like conglomerate of people and villages and stuff that he's helped build. And so he helps them out, and he brings his daughter in. And everybody's like hunky-dory. They're all kind of like, doing their thing.
He's going to hunt them for prey. And
that's
where this story always
goes. They're going to be prey.
Now run.
Yeah. Now we're going to kill you. Which is kind of what they say. They're kind of like warriors and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see what they're going to... I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Because they don't really...
I've seen this movie before.
I've seen this plot thread. So Han Solo walks into this bar and really wants to get a drink. He's like, "How do we get a drink? How much will it cost?" And the guy's like, "We don't use money. You have to pay with your your effort to the village." So he's like, "What do I have to do to get a beer?" And so next thing you know, Princess Leia comes around and she goes around the shop, and Han Solo is very half dressed and Harrison Ford-esque body, and so that was kind of fun and a little like tongue-in-cheek play right there. And then Luke is off with the leader. Blushing. I know. The hard part. I'm gonna get to the art here in just a minute, but this Luke is with the leader of the group, and he's kind of like explaining to what, a little bit more of their beliefs and stuff like that, and banter back and forth. Well, the village gets attacked. They're like, hey, the village's attacks are being attacked, so we need your help. They come in, and Luke goes to grab his lightsaber, but he doesn't want to grab it because he's afraid that he'll show all his cards.
Out him.
And so the guy's like, we don't need blasters, and so he jumps in with these like cool like arm blade things, and then that's it. Like that's the end. So obviously, I assume they're gonna fight the beast in the next one. Story wise, I have very mixed feelings about the Star Wars books, only because, in my opinion, when you do prequels where the characters are already there, they're already established, and you obviously know they're gonna live. There's not a lot of weight to when they get into danger and stuff like that. So that I have a hard time with. But some of these stories are really fun. I think the last arc was really long, that it was unnecessarily drawn out. And this one seems to be kind of going a little bit faster. So I'm hoping they keep the pace up and they end it quickly, because it is kind of a fun story, but I think that's where it ends, is a fun story. There's not a lot of meat to it. It's just a fun little backstory to kind of fill in the Star Wars universe. So I thought it was neat, and kind of there's a lot of jokes and everything like that. So it was a pretty good issue. As far as the art goes, Salvador Larroca did the art for a while, and then this person, this Angel, came in, and they look so much like them. Like they draw them so like Harrison Ford, or like Han Solo looks like Harrison Ford, and Princess Leia looks like Carrie Fisher. Part of that I like, but then part of it makes me really sad. I'm just like, oh, Carrie, like it's just.
There have been so many adaptation comics where the people look nothing like the characters, and that's very disjointing, and half the time you're like, well, which character is that? So especially I like that you can tell.
Oh yeah, and they're talented. I mean, like they look a lot like them, which I think is really interesting and fun. So I really love the art. This particular book, I probably give a 3 out of 5 unicorn horns, maybe a 4 out of 5 if you're a Star Wars fan. Obviously, if you're a Star Wars fan, this is a good book. It's kind of fun, canon, and interesting stories. But there's not a lot of weight to it. You know these characters are going to end up on the other side. They're not going to die. But I feel like sometimes they bring in some really good casts. Now, I haven't read. Do you read any of the other books?
I read the Dr. Aphra and Darth Vader.
I've heard Darth Vader is really good. Did you like Dr. Aphra?
I'm behind on it. I've heard it took a turn.
Yeah. I was like, Jenny was not a fan.
But
so, yeah, I mean, like I think they're pretty good. The main story, I think the main book is pretty good. I haven't got a chance to read the Darth Vader one. It's probably on my list that it's way down there, but maybe at some point.
The first Darth Vader series was excellent. And again, behind. So
story of our lives. I live my life in the behind world. So if you get a chance, I think it's a really good one to pick up. Like I said, if you're a Star Wars fan, it'd be really fun to pick up if you're not picking it up already. If you're not a Star Wars fan and you do like sci-fi, it's also a really good read and kind of some fun, interesting stuff. They do some really good epic stuff in the comic books, so if you get a chance, pick it up.
Okay.
All right, James, what do you got for us?
My first book is Exorsisters #2 by Ian Boothby and Giselle. I'm going to butcher this. Yeah, that.
Look what I said.
The main reason I picked this up is Giselle writes a bunch of webcomics that I enjoy, and I pretty much get anything that she does. She's the artist. I like her style. It's simple and fun, and
it reminds me a lot of Archie's, like Archie books.
She has done a bunch of Archies,
and I think that's really, it does have that kind of, lends itself to that cartoony, almost boxy style, like where everything's kind of, the heads are really boxy and kind of the same eyes, but they still have different kind of looks, and then the body's all kind of, I like it. It's very clean, very clean, very precise. It is definitely a neat art style, I think.
So the plot behind it is you've got two what you start out thinking are sisters. You find out differently later, but and they are paranormal investigators slash fix-it people.
Yeah. It's definitely a book that kind of like it's almost wants to be serious, but it doesn't. It's almost like a comedic.
There's lots of in jokes. In the first episode, they open up a portal to hell, and one of the sisters falls into a hell creature, and does the bit from Men in Black. You best turn loose of her before something bad happens to you. Too late. And then the sister says, "Oh, I'm sorry you fell into its mouth," and she says, "It wasn't his mouth."
The other funny thing is like the sisters are almost completely different.
Yeah.
Like one is kind of very straight-laced, and even like their clothing, she's very well put together. She's very matter of fact, by the book, kind of.
So, spoiler alert, you find out that they're not, in fact, sisters. That the...
Blood sisters, right.
That the mother made a bad deal with a demon, and her daughter's soul got stolen, and by the time they were able to get the soul back, the daughter had changed so much the soul couldn't go back into her daughter, so now the soul runs around with her as her sister.
Yeah. So it's not actually her sister, it's her soul. And she's the complete opposite of her, very chaotic, and
the main one is very driven, straightforward, forthright. The soul sister likes to drink and party and joke around a lot
all the time. Like the first issue, she gets drunk. She tries to get drunk at the reception because they're helping this woman that she ends up
got dumped at the altar.
Right, or the demon stole her husband at the altar, and so yeah, and then if you get a chance, read the first one. But this particular book, they actually explain a lot more about like the deal between her mother and her sister, or her mother.
You find out how her mother got drug into the supernatural world, and the sisters are very powerful. So far, there hasn't been a lot of peril for them. In one episode, they go to hell and are threatened, and then it's you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to raise my voice to you.
They're very well known in the demon world.
I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm a fan of the pair anyway, but I would recommend this one, and I'm gonna give it a 4 unicorn horns.
I wouldn't disagree with that. It's a fun book. I've really actually enjoyed it, even though this is only second issue. I feel like it's got a good premise. They've got good characters they're laying out. It's even because even with this particular issue, they have where they talk about the mom and how she kind of made this deal and the soul got stolen, or why her soul got stolen. They also have at the very beginning, it's they're doing their little exorcism and trying to help this family and this daughter that's possessed, kind of. And so they have a story, but then there's also they have really good
little subplots,
right? And it's only issue 2, so I feel like they've done really well with that, and it's not boring. There's not a lot
Giselle has a track record of being able to go the distance and keep books interesting. So many authors, they have a good plot premise, but they don't have any follow through. They write themselves into a corner and can't figure out how to get out. And so far, she's only on issue 2, but I have high hopes.
I do too, and I think that it's almost like this dark material. I mean, her mother literally sold her soul to the demon to have so her mother could be better, and it's just that's kind of dark crap.
Well, and her mother gave up her daughter's soul to get herself out of trouble. That's hardcore.
Exactly, but they kind of handle it in a funny-ish way, or there's
sisters are bitter, but they're not like, you sold my soul,
I hate you. Yeah, and same with the first book. The first book, they kind of have this kind of meaty stuff. This woman's left at the altar. The sisters are kind of fighting with each other, so they have a little bit more of a dark material, but they don't let it rule.
But then also in the first book, they while they're down in hell, they go to a room and there's a demon dressed up in pigtails having a tea party. They ask, well, what happened here? It says, oh, the demon was trying to possess an 8-year-old girl and screwed up the summoning circle, and now the 8-year-old girl is possessing the demon.
That's pretty funny. It's like they have this dark material that I think, and I feel like the cartooniness or the lightness of the art helps lend itself to not being such a serious material also. So I agree with you. It's a really good book. I think a lot of people would enjoy it. If you're like Sabrina the Teenage Witch books, I think would be really good. Somebody that would enjoy it, or magic, like people that like magic books or like demon stuff. It's pretty fun. So if you get a chance, I think it'd be a good one. All right, so my next pick is going to be Justice League Dark. James Tynion IV was the writer, and Daniel. All right, here we go. Sempere. We're so sorry. I really wish they would do enunciation, like how to pronounce my name. I am so sorry. You deserve all the credit.
Phonetically.
Yeah, exactly. How do I put the enunciation on the right syllable?
Why does the word phonetic start with a P?
I don't know, because it's just more confusing. So, in this particular issue, have you been reading this book?
Again, I'm behind.
It's okay. So you haven't read it yet, but you read this.
I've read the
series.
I've read the first one of the new Justice League Dark, and I like that genre. I loved Detective Chimp back in the Shadow Pact days.
Yes. So did you read the original Justice League Dark?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Justice League Dark number 5. So this is kind of a reboot-ish. The old Justice League Dark was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. This is kind of a little bit different, but I feel like they're kind of getting back to what it was before. They're definitely touching on some of the characters they've left behind, and bringing in some of the other stuff that they did in the past. Like Constantine used to be on the and then he was like off, but then he's back. So it's kind of, I feel like they're doing really well so far. I was really skeptical. I'm not a huge Man-Bat fan, so I was like, I didn't want him to be on the team, but it is what it is.
Everyone thinks, well, back that up. A lot of people think that Marvel is the more with the Sorceress and the Magical Society, but DC has a huge stable of magic-based and magical characters from all the years to draw from.
I think that's what irritated me.
It's a lot of minor characters, but sometimes if you get a good writer...
Mm-hmm. I think that's what irritated me about Man-Bat, though, was Man-Bat, it's not a magical character, and they have so many people to draw from, and they chose to go with this weird. But, honestly, so far, I don't mind it. Like, he's actually been kind of a fun character, because he's not from the magical world, which I think is kind of neat, especially in this book, this particular issue. So in this issue, they they talk about what happened to Nightmaster, which was in the original Justice League Dark. He used to own the Bolivian bar. And
Shadow Pact.
And he was in Shadow Pact. And then Detective Chimp, Nightmaster got killed. Detective Chimp inherited the bar and the sword. And so it's kind of, the first part is about him, Detective Chimp, kind of grieving and going over the death of his friend. And so that was kind of really neat to see how they did that. They did a really nice 9-panel layout where they kind of kept talking about, like, they kept bringing back, somebody would say something and the chimp would drink. Somebody did this and the chimp would drink. And somebody would do it. So they keep bringing that back, like the chimp would drink, the chimp would drink. Talking about like how he's just trying to get through this stuff. So then they cut to this more nowadays where after the witching hour, the Oblivion Bar has been kind of decimated. And so they kind of rebuilding. Tracy 13's helping him. And she was the original, when they rebooted it, she's kind of been the bartender at the Oblivion Bar. And so she's kind of in it and she's upset. So Wonder Woman kind of consoles her over her loss of people. And Man-Bat's trying to help. They realize that they need to go and help the land of, what is it called now? What is it? He watches over Mira?
Mysteria? Mistra?
Myra?
Oh.
Myraa. A lot of vowels. Myra. So that's what I'm going to go with. So that was the one thing that the Night Master was in charge of, was he kept this magical world safe and was kind of its protector, this Myra world. And that's what the sword would get. They were able to cut the fabric of time and go through this and get to this magical world. Well, since the chimp has inherited this, he's kind of like, you don't understand it. It's really hard. I haven't been back in a long time. I kind of just let it go. And they're like, well, we have to go in order to help with this magical I don't even know how to, like, everything's shifting. The magical world is becoming different because of the stuff that happened in Justice League No Justice books with the trees, and with the witching hour, a lot of the magical like Nada Parbat got destroyed. The trees, the trees that are the council of trees that are in charge of the green were destroyed, and so Swamp Thing's like by himself now. He's kind of been cut off, and so everything's kind of shifting and moving in this weird magical world. So they're trying to find more help to kind of get it back to where it was. So they go to the Myra to help hopefully find something that they can latch onto, because this is a very magical based world, which is supposed to be helpful or very lucrative for them. This would be something that would help them. Also, on the flip side, Swamp Thing and not Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing's Marvel, isn't it? No, Swamp Thing is DC.
Yes.
I get Swamp Thing and
Man-Thing
confused. Swamp Thing and Constantine are at the tree, and they are trying to help kind of protect the tree, and they're fighting Dr. Fate, who's a bad guy. Dr. Fate is no longer being what's his name?
Nabu.
It is Nabu now. Nabu has taken over.
Nabu.
Right, he's taken over the body. Whatever the last guy was. He kind of, Nabu is taking over, and he's kind of a bad guy. He's kind of a douche. So he's not cool. Not cool.
Nabu was always
kind of a douche.
Kind of in it for Nabu.
Right.
It was Kent Nelson and Hector Hall or Hammond.
Yeah. I think this one is, I want to say it's Kent.
They always kind of
they shifted back and forth.
Humanized him.
Right. And made him, kind of controlled him in a way. So now that Nabu is in charge, that he's trying to take over the tree and change things, and so Constantine is dying, and so he's just in balls to the wall. I'm going to destroy you as much as I can because I'm trying to do one last good thing before I die. And Swamp Thing is also trying to protect the last bit of green there is, which is the tree and other things that he has. So they're kind of fighting. They're fighting Dr. Fate, and then the rest of the crew of Justice League Dark is gone to this new magical world, Myra, and they're figuring out that it's not as safe as it was before. They get there, they get attacked by the undead, and then a dragon shows up and attacks them. Meanwhile, again, it is Constantine and Swamp Thing are there. They're fighting the Dr. Fate, and all of a sudden the Phantom Stranger shows up and is like, Nabu's like, I knew you'd show up, and he's like, yes, we need to talk. And so I think he's gonna have to step in, and they're gonna have to fight Dr. Fate at some point. Wonder Woman, of course, attacks a dragon. It's a given. I mean, if there's a dragon, that's what I go for. They fight the undead and come to find out that apparently Blue Demon is trapped in this world, but we don't know why. And so Chimp, at the end, the last thing is, and the chimpanzee drinks. So it's something else that he regrets, obviously. It's something that he did too. He obviously screwed over the Blue Demon for some reason or another, and it left him in this world. And so I'm sure that's what they'll get into at some point. But really good. I was really skeptical of this book. I wasn't for sure if I was going to like it. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of them changing the cast, because I really liked the old cast. And I didn't think they were going to bring any of the old cast back in. And they have done a really good job of kind of keeping them out, like, of the team, but still bringing them, touching in to see what's going on, like why they're not there or what's going on with them. So I would give this probably a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I really enjoyed it. The art is really, really good. They do really well with all the different magical rules ish, since they've all kind of shifted from the witching hour and the other stuff that's happened with the trees. They things have changed a lot, so they kind of hold on to that too. They don't just like throw all the stuff that they just did out the window. So I really liked it. I mean, if you're a magic person, like, this is a really good book. It's definitely not a Justice League book. If you're like the hero teams, it's probably not the best book, because it is kind of almost like these team of people that don't want to be together, that are kind of thrown together and forced together. They all have their issues.
They put the fun in dysfunctional.
Exactly. Very dysfunctional. So if you get a chance, I think it's a really good book. You should pick it up. Obviously, this book, this particular issue is pretty good to jump on if you haven't been reading it, because it is kind of the start of a new.
Well, and it's only number 5, so you can catch up. It's
totally.
not number 55.
Right.
And
or you can wait till number 6 and then just buy the trade. And then you can catch up on all 6.
Now, does this tie in with Witching Hour and the Wonder Woman one-shots and all?
So they
or
talk
is this
about
self-contained?
I would say self-contained, but there is
allusions
repercussions to what had happened in the Witching Hour. So it definitely falls into this, but it's not like it's more of an aftermath instead of a conclusion. They concluded that the Witching Hour is ish, but they still kind of moved on a little bit. But like I said, like, the repercussions from there are very apparent in this book, especially with like Naboo being a bad guy, which was established in the Witching Hour. A lot of the magic, a lot of the stuff that's happening, they bring up, and they haven't exactly dealt with it, but they keep bringing it up, so it's not kind of, we're forgetting about this quite yet. So,
like, historically, Naboo was one of the Lords of Order,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of people, order good, chaos bad. But I liked how DC would show that just pure, raw order is heartless, and
it is very matter of fact,
and
yes.
And a lot of people get done over, and that you need a little chaos.
I don't disagree. They have done really well with that. I think that's one thing that's like, Naboo is a bad guy, but not necessarily a bad guy. He's more of I'm trying to commit this to the order. This is the new order of things, and therefore this is the side I'm on. So it's kind of, I think that's where
he's the best bad guys are ones that think they're doing the right thing,
so
that
true.
they think they're the good guy.
So true. Very, very true. All right, what's your next pick?
My next book is Cold Spots by Image.
I'm really interested because, like, I haven't even heard of this one, so I'm curious to see what this is.
It's by Cullen Bunn and Mark Torres. This is issue number 4. I read through all 4 issues recently, so it's not 4 months old,
right,
in my reading of it. it's kind of a detective slash ghost story.
Really big on the magic today.
Yeah. There's a mysterious island is how it starts out.
This issue or the series?
The series itself. And then it cuts to there's a younger man that you assume is some kind of detective, handyman, fixer of problems. He gets summoned to a old rich person's mansion. They have some history. They don't appear to like each other very well. And the rich guy is like, I thought I'd never have to talk to you again, but I've got a problem only you can help me with. And the rich guy's daughter has disappeared. He thinks she's been abducted. You find out that she left somewhat willingly.
Dun 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 dun.
Dun dun dun.
So, what is this particular issue? What is this dealing with?
So, I'll get there.
Okay.
The detective guy, the rich guy's daughter took her daughter with her, and when the detective sees the daughter's picture, he gets the look in his eyes. He figures out that they've gone to the mysterious island that was in the beginning of the book. The next two books, he's going there to the island, and the overarching theme is when it's a ghost story. When the ghosts are around, it gets super cold, and so when he goes to the island, it is freezing here, sort of like it is here today. And
no joke, that wind is crazy today.
In issue number 4 is where you really get into the plot of what's going on. You find out that the little girl is the detective's daughter, that he's apparently either never seen, and you assume he didn't even know she existed.
The plot thickens.
Yes.
Dun 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 dun.
And then she has supernatural powers that, like, ghosts are attracted to her, and she's very withdrawn. She just stands and stares. The people on the island brought them there to supposedly help them. In the issue 4, you find out they brought them there for nefarious purposes. And
now the real story.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
But it's a good horror story. Art wise, I'm not a huge fan. It is it seems to be a common modern style. It's
very gothic.
It's
like a gothic style.
It's
lots of
it's
dark
not
shadows.
simplistic, but it's, I don't know how else to describe it, but
I would say like a very gothic, very almost a sketchy look with very focal points. Like, I mean, like in this frame particularly, like they very focus on the girl. She's very crisp. The other people in the shadows, and then there's a lot of blank space.
I do like that you can tell all the characters apart.
They have special features.
A lot of times when you get this art style, all the characters tend to blend together and look alike. You're just you're starting to find out what's going on. It's starting to draw me in. and so far I like it. I would recommend it. I'd probably give it a 3 unicorn horns. It's probably not everyone's cup of tea, but Cullen Bunn is pretty popular right now, and
so now, like, is this the thing that you? What are some of the things that you like? Do you like a lot of the horror books, magic?
If you just caught me on the street, I would say I'm a superhero person, but I like a good story, and it seems like today a lot of the good stories are the horror stories.
I don't disagree. Yeah,
because
the thrillers kind of.
It's the thrillers, and the world is kind of dark, and people feel hopeless, and people write what they know.
It's true.
Growing up, I hated horror comics, I didn't understand all the EC and the zombie stuff, but now that's kind of what I turn to. So I'm an enigma.
You are wrapped in a riddle. All right.
So that's Cold Spots. I would recommend it. It's like I said, the art isn't. It's good. It's not exactly my cup of. It does fit the story. The art is good enough. Good enough plus even. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to do one more book. So I'm going to do Uncanny X-Men. This is number 2. They did obviously one last week, which they're kind of. I think they're doing them weekly, which
they're going to do them weekly for the first 10 weeks.
So
you have to order them all sight unseen because you're 2 months ahead on the order form. It's kind of a dirty trick, if you ask me.
So I'm not a big I don't look forward. I don't look at the previews. I don't want to know the news. I don't want to know what's going to happen. Because then I just get mad about stuff that I'm not for sure what's going to happen.
You drive with your eyes closed.
I just
Universe, take the wheel. I will end up where I am supposed to be. If that's a ditch, that's where I was supposed to be.
So James is I feel like you are a lot more of a preview person. Like you go to the comic book shop all the time and you look through all the stuff. He signs up for all the things. I'm the guy that Mike, our comic book shop guy, that hates because I show up and I'm like, I just want to try this. Why not? And I'm like, he's like,
why are you buying issue 78 of a book you haven't read the other 77 of?
I will pull an issue and Michael lose his crap every single time. It cracks me up. Now I just kind of do it just to piss him off because it's funny. Because he just gets so mad. He gets so bent out of shape. But James is definitely like a planner. James knows what he's going to get. He knows which ones he signs up for. So it's always interesting to see, like, you have all this foreknowledge, and I'm like, I didn't know that. I'm like, I assumed it was going to be a weekly book for a little while. Which makes sense, though, because after reading this particular issue, so this is number 2, and they have 3 different writers. They have Ed Brinson, Matthew Rosenberg, and Kelly Thompson. And then the art in this particular issue is R.B. Silva. And it makes sense because the story is very almost like a future based. They're kind of doing a Days of Future Past kind of thing where they have it's almost like a multiple man has been in the future and he's come back to kind of stop something. They're bringing a lot of Bishop in it. Issue number 1, I think I did last week, but it was a really good read, and so I'm curious. I'm thinking they're going to do that just to kind of establish the world. But I'm not for sure. I'm gonna have to wait till they get through all of them. But I feel like they have a plan, which is the first issue. I was like, okay, they've got a direction they're going to go, and this kind of cements it. Because in this particular issue, they bring in a lot more of the things that are there's a lot more oddities happening. And then they kind of split into teams to kind of deal with all the different oddities. One team goes to stop the dinosaurs, which everybody kind of wants to go see. Everybody kind of wants to stop the dinosaurs. And then Jean is there. Jean is going to stay at the X Mansion and try to figure things out. And then she realizes that all the stuff with Multiple Man's happening. So then she sends a different team to go help with the Multiple Man, and she goes to deal with the dinosaurs. Which the other team's kind of pissed because they want to deal with the dinosaurs. Everyone wants to deal with dinosaurs. And then the young X-Men, the younger X-Men crew is kind of pissed because they got left behind. But
does it tie in with the other X books, or is it self-contained?
I was just getting ready to say it's really good because it really calls back, which is one thing that Jenny used to love is callbacks. It calls back to the previous issue, which just came out last week. But the young X-Men were beaten up by like the Mutant Liberation Front by Forearm, and they like the whole first issue they were talking about like how Forearm, what's his sidekick, Tricep Man, and like then they got their butt kicked by him. And then so in this issue they even say they're like they left us behind. I can't believe they left us behind. And Rockslide goes, I mean, we did just get our butts handed to us by Forearm, the embarrassment. I feel like. Again, like it does feel very directional, like they're going somewhere, like they know where they're going to go. But there's a
bunch of X books right now. Do you need to read those, or is this
no?
You can just read this.
You can just read this and be happy for sure. But all the X books are gone now for the most part, except for X-Men Red. X-Men Blue's gone. X-Men Gold's gone. They have one more issue of the Extinction, which I think is going to wrap some things up. Which I feel like with this book coming out already, I kind of know what's going to happen.
Astonishing X-Men.
Astonishing X-Men wrapped up this last week, or this week. It was the last issue came out, so that's gone too. So they've kind of like cut all their books and put them into this one. They brought a lot of characters from those books into this one, except for X-Men Red. X-Men Red is still going, as far as I know. I don't know how far it's going to go though, but I really like that one. If you're an X-Men fan and you're not reading X-Men Red, you're missing out. So anyways, back to this though, is Beast is trying to figure things out, so he's kind of getting back to his little sciencey side. They go to stop Multiple Man, where Multiple Man is actually mini multiples, and at the very beginning, the satellite sees like this, it almost looks like a black cancer like coming out, but it's all the Multiple Men coming out, like multiplying so much. But they get there, and they have all the Multiple Men have different powers, which are kind of weird. One has like eye blasts. One's got this weird tongue thing. One's got just electricity. So they're all.
That's new.
I know exactly. So it says something that what they're gonna do that I'm not for sure. Obviously, he has some kind of.
They're gonna mutate the mutants.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like maybe somebody's controlling him or something. I'm very interested to see what's going on. But the quote unquote prime, Jamie Maddox, the prime Multiple Man. He's trying to obviously stop all this, but nobody knows his plan yet. So, I guess we'll figure it out. The other team go to stop the dinosaurs, which is really funny. X-23 gets eaten by one of the dinosaurs and then cuts her way through it. Like it's really because, Jean's goes like she's like, "Help me, Bishop, help me!" And like Bishop's like, "Hold the phone for a minute." And next thing you know, she like rips out of the T-Rex, and so she's like, all right, never mind.
So that's happened in 2 of our books this week. If somebody gets eaten,
you
best turn loose of them before something bad happens.
Exactly. You don't ever want to eat somebody you don't know about. Like,
if you're in a comic book and you have a chance to eat someone alive, pass.
Yeah, just pass. Unless you don't know them. If you don't know them, go ahead and eat them. Like if you do know them, don't eat them. And then at the end, a lot of the mutant hysterias happened because in the last issue they dealt with the vaccine where they kind of crashed the plane into the vaccine plant, and the people are protesting on the lawn of the mansion. The young X-Men or the young kids are there, and all of a sudden they get a knock at the door from this one guy, and it ends up being Legion, which is Professor X's son. But he looks very well put together, which is not the Legion that is usually in the comic books. Usually he's very chaotic. He has multiple personalities,
and
multiple powers, and the hair is all really big. This one's he's very sleek, and he goes, "I'm here to save the day." So I'm not for sure what they're going to do with that. But the cover of the next issue,
Mighty Mouse in disguise.
Probably. It's got a little robot. It's
aliens.
It's always aliens. So this particular issue I thought was really good. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I have seen some stuff. I have collected them for many, many years, and I've been through many, many crap storylines. I have trudged through them, and this one I feel like is so far, like I said, I feel like there's a direction. I feel like it is actually really kind of X-Men story. I really like this one. I'm excited. The only thing that I would say about that annoys me is the art. The art is not consistent. It was a different artist in the first book. I think it was, he did Dynamo 5, and he did X-Men Red for a little while. I can't think of his name escapes me. But that was a particular different artist, and now this is a different artist, R.B. Silva. Not that the art is bad. The art is really good. It's a very talented artist. I really like how he does all the.
It's very clean.
Yeah, and it's like a very chaotic. Like the page is very chaotic, but
busy.
It's still crisp enough that it actually doesn't hurt itself. They have a lot of detail, and I think he does really. I mean, like the art is really good. I just wish there was consistency.
A lot of books, they get so busy, you literally can't tell what's going on the page. This one doesn't look like it suffers from that.
No, and he has a way, I've liked his work in the past, but he has a way of making a very chaotic page with a lot of detail, but there's also subtleties where it's not a lot of detail. Like their faces are not very detailed. They're all kind of very similar, but like her shirt and the TV is very detailed, and so like he has a way of making things very detailed, but then leaving things out that are not always important. Like like her face is very detailed here, but then later on it's very there's not a lot to it. So I think the art is very, very well done. I just wish it was more consistency of art, and so I hate when a artist leaves a book or jumps around. They have an artist this week and they have a different artist this week and they have a different artist this week. It's very frustrating.
Which is a big problem with the weekly book, because
I think that's why they've done it.
It's very hard to
put out a weekly book. Obviously, I mean, you have to have so many probably done before you could even remotely start that. I'm sure that's why.
Or you're handing off from week to week, and that never ends well.
No, it just for me I love the art. I will stick with the book for the art in forever, and a horrible story, but it's so disjointing for me. Like I just don't understand. So I get it now. I get it because like I said, you said it's a weekly book. So, but rating, I would definitely give this probably a 4 out of 5. For me, it was a 5 out of 5 just because I like the X-Men. But I think about a 4 out of 5 for most people would be a very good superhero book. If you like superheroes, if you like the X-Men, it's a really great read. I like the direction that they're going. It's very X-Men story. So if you're in that genre, then I think you would really enjoy this book. Obviously, you have to read kind of one to understand what's going on with this one, but it's not easy to catch up. But this particular issue is really good. So,
okay, my final book,
last but not least,
is have to get to it. I like physical comics, but for raw portability, nothing beats digital. So.
I don't disagree. I have the ones that I want to have. Like I need to have the physical copy.
Oh, I have physical copies of all these as well, and a problem. I'm not too big to admit it.
And a small bank account now.
But like I said, for raw portability,
I don't disagree. It's not like traveling with the.
So my final book is the new Bettie Page, and there are multiple covers. I love Bettie Page. It was a fun adventure book. The heroine didn't have that Bettie Paginess.
Who wrote this one?
I'm sorry. It was written by David Avalon, and art is by Julius Ota. And it is by Dynamite.
So now, is this going to be a series, or is this are they doing Bettie Page one shot still? Or I know they did a mini not too long ago.
They started with the Betty in Hollywood and the model agent, and then
that was the one where she was a spy, wasn't she?
Yes. Yeah, this is continuing that story.
Okay. So it is the kind of an ongoing a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
They allude back to the previous stories and incidents. So
I only know these things because I don't read Bettie Page, but Jenny had done a page or a Bettie Page story and explained some of it to me, which I love Bettie Page. I usually find a lot of the books very not well done.
Overall, I enjoyed the book. As I said, the heroine doesn't seem very, at least to me. I can't define what makes Bettie Paginess, but I can tell when it's absent. It's just generic heroine with bangs.
Well, and like a lot of times with Bettie Page, it was a lot of sass. Like there was like she ended up stopping whatever it was, but it wasn't always like a direct line. Like she didn't exactly stop everything. She stopped it because she accidentally tripped over a cable, which turned off the bomb, and then she fought the bad guy, and that's what kind of, so there's kind of like almost not a clumsiness, but a side that she kind of had, and she did it with like sass and pizzazz, and then she would be kind of like a funny. And I feel like sometimes they don't always do that. Like,
and a lot of artists, I mean, she had the archetype hair, and they draw that, but Betty just had something that very few artists other than Dave Stevens and Jim Silk can capture.
I don't disagree. I feel like that was one of the things, like, if you're not a huge Bettie Page fan or you don't know who she is, I think we said in the past when me and Jenny did a series or an episode that there was something about her that was just, you were just enamored with her. She was not a small person. She was very statuesque. She was very thick. She had a way of owning all of
But you saw her
that.
and you just like, oh man, I just love her.
Yeah. Yes, and it was like, even though some of the things that she did were kind of quote unquote sleazy, I still don't think she ever had that air about her. There are some people that you look at and you don't want to touch because they look like walking disease. And even though she did something that was very naughty, she still had a way of just making it, I don't know, like, she just was.
She's still the wholesome girl next door.
So what happens in this particular issue?
In this issue, she gets summoned to England for a emergency matter of the highest importance. And she there are several UFO sightings. It turns out that a UFO has been seen over Windsor Castle and has abducted the Queen. And it is up to Betty to go and work with the various agents and save the day. After some adventure, she gets captured herself by the aliens, and they're getting ready to experiment on her at the end.
Ooh. Uh-oh. Looks like she got one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I will keep reading this. I would get it just for the covers, just because I love Bettie Page. The story was fun. It was a fun generic heroine with bangs story. It was I felt a substandard Bettie Page story.
I can see that. They definitely have a way of. I think that's why I don't get a lot of the Bettie Page stuff, because I feel like a lot of times it is all about the cover, and that's not it. The art's usually not that good. The writing's not that good. Yeah, I can see where you could be like that. There's actually one book that once I get to my pull list that I'll talk about that I downloaded digitally that I was highly disappointed in. So I get what you're saying, but I feel the same thing about this particular book. So, well, that's great.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through my pull list. James, unfortunately, didn't get through his pull list because I shanghaied him at the last minute and made him come and do this. So, because I know everybody gets tired.
There may or may not have been weapons involved.
There's always weapons involved. They are very nicely groomed, glittery weapons, but they will be weapons nonetheless. Lots of threats. There might have been a horse head in the bed. But no, not a real horse head. It was obviously a fake unicorn head. Don't cry too much. So I'm going to go through my pull list really quick for the week. A lot of it was very Marvel heavy. A lot of X-Men this week. Mr. and Mrs. X, number 5. I really enjoy this series. Have you been reading this at all?
No, but Mike at Comic Empire said he's heard lots of good things about this, that they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And I love me a Terry Dodson cover.
I know, he's done so good. He is a master of covers. I really wish he would do a book. I see why he doesn't, because he can crank these beautiful covers out and probably make more money. But Terry, if you ever happen to see this, please do more books, because your art is beautiful. But this particular book is really good. I give it probably a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. If you're an X-Men fan, a 5 out of 5. Art's really good. Story's been solid so far. And I just found out that Gambit has 3 kitties, which I was really excited about. The Oliver, Lucifer, and Figueroa. I also have 3 cats. If you've watched some of my other previous videos, they were in here at one time. But love the cats. So but this is a really good book, so I'd give this a high rating. Then they ended Astonishing X-Men with number 17, which this book was actually pretty decent. I feel like they wrapped up a lot of the stuff. They had a good ending. I feel like this team was a joke, and it didn't. When they started it, they kind of made themselves a joke, but that was kind of their premise, was all these awkward cast of characters pushed together. But I think they did really well, especially with the ending. I thought they had a fun time. I'm sad because it ended, because there's a lot of characters in here that I really like. I really like Dazzler. I really wanted to see Colossus, because now he's kind of like this guy that doesn't shave. He's very disheveled. He's just kind of like, meh, I don't care about what's going on, and he just fights. And so it's kind of funny because he's devastated from Kitty.
How do you get Steel 5 o'clock Shadow?
I don't know, but it's like they make it happen. So like it's really fun. Dazzler's obviously one, and like there's one point where the Reavers is taking over Sentinels, and they go, let's get rid of this bootleg Kesha, and she just like blows them away, and she's like, nothing bootleg about that. And I'm like, I love you, Dazzler, so much. So this is a really good read. Obviously it's the end of the series, so if you want something to catch up on, it was a fun book. I give it probably a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because I am a huge X-Men fan. So pretty good. This one was from last week. I didn't have it in my pool list, and Mike finally got me one, so I read it this week. Don't waste your time. This was such a sad story. It was horrible. The art was atrocious. I just don't even know what this book was about. Like, it's just... maybe I missed the tie-in or something, but it was just kind of this random X-Men book that it was not good. I give
somehow tying Typhoid Mary, who's a Daredevil villain,
in this particular
into
issue,
the X-Men.
Well, she's got this mutant that they apparently, when she was getting treatment for her schizophrenia, she got this mutant that can amp up her powers, and it's not worth it. Like, spend your money on something else. Justice League number 12. Have you been reading this?
No.
Oh god, you hate this so much. I don't know why I still get this book. I think I might be done with it soon, because it is the Drowned Earth tie-in. I think it's not quite. I think they're going to conclude it next week, or the next ones that come out. I think is the Drowned Earth tie-in, or the bookend where they're going to conclude it.
Just in time for the Aquaman movie.
Oh god, I don't even know. God, I hope that Aquaman movie is better than this book. It's just not. If you're reading this, I don't even know. Like, explain to me why this book is good. So I give this one probably 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because I want it to be good, and it's not. But I still have hope. Savage Dragon number 240, which I should have gave up probably like 6 months ago. but I'm holding strong because I'm loyal. It's basically pornography.
We flip through it every week to see if Mike can put it on the shelf or not. This one actually didn't have anything hardcore in it.
It does.
Once.
Mike
was it hidden?
So Mike goes, well, I put this one on the shelf because, and I'm like, Mike, there's a big giant penis, like in the third book, like the third page, there's a big giant penis. Like,
see, I missed it.
I was like, she's half naked, he's raping her. Like, I'm like, no, this is not okay. Like, it's just,
yeah, it's
Eric, I don't know what you're doing, but you've got to get a grip, buddy. Like, you got to go back because I don't know what's going on.
Or go forward and just lean all the way into it.
Just lean into the skin.
Just
Avengers #4, or West Coast Avengers #4. I've really enjoyed this book. It is definitely not a serious book. If you read the previous Hawkeye series with Kate, that was really good. If you like that, you would like this. If you didn't like that, then you're not going to like this. Although the cast of characters is a lot of fun. There's some really weird cast of characters, but it's still...
And the dog.
And the dog.
I love the dog.
But the dog is...
That was my favorite issue, was the one all from the dog's standpoint.
Yeah, it was like, viewing everything. This... Yeah. Have you got to read this yet?
Not yet.
It's good. I like it. But it is not a serious book. Like, you don't go in there thinking that you're gonna like end up with some meaty stuff. This is really kind of tongue in cheek. A lot of stuff.
It's West Coast Avengers, people. You knew what you're getting into.
They're fighting MODOK, which is in a different form called Brodok, as like a hot guy with his big head. So it's very like very tongue in cheek, but it's a good read. I really enjoyed it. Digitally, did you get to read any more?
No, for a short work week and a long weekend, I was shockingly busy.
Everyone's a piece of James. I got a couple things read. I got the Exorsisters with You, Light Step. I don't know. That one's kind of a weird one. It's by Dark Horse. It's about these kind of people that are like royalty, and they kind of have a more, I don't even know, gifted life, but they're it's very like they live one day and they live for a long period of time, and then the people that are below them, the kind of rabble, live short lives, but they have a very hard life. And so this is about this one girl that she has seizures and she has visions, and she sees how like things are, and so they've cast her out. But it's, I don't know. It's an issue 1. It's kind of set things up, but I wasn't really quite clear about what had happened. So it's interesting. I might pick up issue 2. If I don't think I would be disappointed. I'd probably give it more of a, probably make a 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because it is an issue 1. So I give that a little bit of leeway because it's very hard to establish things. And then I read Aquaman #42 to hopefully understand Justice League more. It didn't help. It didn't help at all. It was very sad. And then I read Nightwing #53. That one's for Jenny. She was a big Nightwing, and I want to see it to the end to see what's happening, so that see what comes of it. I don't know. Like it's very hard coming in the middle of all that stuff with him being shot, and now he's not really Nightwing, but now these cops are taking over his secret identity, and so so they found his Batcave. And they found his costumes, and so now there's 4 of them that are kind of taken over for Nightwing, because when Nightwing left, it kind of left a vacuum for crime to come back. And so this cop he can't do the things as a cop, so he puts on Nightwing's uniform and is trying to kind of like do vigilante work.
So it's the opening of The Dark Knight with the guys in the hockey pads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, people have taken over his stuff to do his job, and so it's interesting. I will probably read it a couple more issues. I don't know if I'll quite stay with it, just because it is. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not my thing. But
I've got 2 quick books I'd talk about. So I went to the comic shop and I saw a book on the shelf called The Last Space Race. And I asked somebody what it was about, and they gave me this explanation that was about this human space station after it, right at the edge of the heat death of the universe. They were going to try to survive the end of the universe. Well, I brought the book home, and that wasn't the book. This one was about people finding an alien ship heading to Saturn, and they were going to go chase it and find out what that was about. It was still decent, but then I was like, well, I want to read that other book. So I had to do several very intricate Google searches to figure out what the other book that they were talking about was. It ended up being another book called The Infinite Dark.
I have heard of that.
And the first issue, it's the heat death of the universe, everything. Basically, the universe is out of energy, and they're all alone on this spaceship. This space station, and there's a knock at the door.
Oh, that's
and
not
that's
the one
how
I thought it was.
That's how the first issue ends.
Ooh,
so
that sounds intense.
Yeah. Well, whether they can
sustain it or not,
whether they can deliver,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you to JD for joining me on this adventure today. I really appreciate it.
One last thing before we go.
Go ahead.
This for Jenny.
Yes.
This came out a couple weeks ago. She-Hulk was one of her favorite characters. And I saw it. I was like, I could get that for Jenny. So I did.
Yes.
In my own way.
Yeah. I think we are all kind of dealing with that in our own way. She will be sorely missed and hopefully live on for a long, long time through us. So, but I really want to say thank you. Thanks to Jenny for being with us and getting me through another show. I really appreciate it. And if you get a chance, like, share, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. If not, it's not that big of a deal. It's okay. I hope you enjoyed it. If you agree with our opinions, please let us know. If you don't agree, please let us know why. We would love to hear from you. If there's something that I'm not reading or that I should pick up, let us know so we can always try to jump on the train at some point. Maybe not next week, but hopefully at some point we'll get on there. Until then, we hope your pull list is full. Thanks for everything. Bye. Bye.